G'day everyone, I hope you've had a fantastic week. I hope you've accomplished everything that you set out to do and that you had planned to do this week. If you didn't, there's always this coming week. If it's not that important, you can always hold it off till the week after if you want. If you had a slow week, well then good on you. I hope you're not saying, oh man, I had a terrible week, it went so slow. I wish I could have a slow week where I could get some things done, where I could get even a little bit more than what I set out to do done. If you did have a slow week, I'd like to know what your secret is. You can send me a message personally, or you can comment on the video below. But over the next couple of weeks, we're just going to be looking at who we are as a church. As Next Level Church, what's our mission? What are a few of our values? And as church has looked and I guess been done differently over the last month or nearly 2 months now, and with restrictions being slowly lifted and it only a matter of time before we can meet physically together again for church, I believe it's important for us just to stop and just to, I guess, reassess and even just really get into our minds as to what is our mission as a church, who we are, who you are as a church, what is your mission, what are the values, what's the, I guess, the vision that we have as a church. What are we actually here for? And it's important to note that church is not a building. Church isn't a building. Church isn't the pastor. Church isn't the music or the message that is spoken. But we are the church. You are the church. You don't just go to church, but you are the church. The church building could burn down or be destroyed. Does that mean that church ceases or that church is finished? Of course not. It doesn't. We haven't been able to meet physically in our building for a good little while now. And so does that mean that church is finished or that church is all over? Definitely not. It has just looked and it's just felt a little different than what we are used to. Some of you may be enjoying this, I guess, different season of how we do church or how we actually do a church service. Some of you may be enjoying it. Some of you may be hating it or just loathing this time where I just can't wait till we can get back together and just do church as normal or just like we always used to. And I can't wait till we can all meet back together again, where we're all worshipping together, where we're all connecting and finding out how our weeks went, and we're all together in that one place in unity. But if I'm real honest with you, I've really enjoyed this time or this season where church has been done differently. I've enjoyed it personally. And it's caused me to grow and to dig deep into my faith and my relationship with Christ. It's caused myself to look at how I do life. It's caused me to look at how I even lead as a dad, even lead as a pastor, how I just do life in general. And there's a part of me that doesn't want church to go back for just a little bit longer yet. And some of you may be saying, what? The pastor doesn't want us to go back to church? What's the matter with him? Doesn't he like us? And yes, I do like you. I love every single one of you. And as I just said, I can't wait for church to go back. But there's a part of me which just wants it just to hold off for just a little bit longer. And here's my reasoning why, is that for those of you who know me, if you've been a part of our church for a good little while, you know that I like change, that I like to do things maybe a little bit differently. I'm not someone who just does things or do things a certain way just because that's what we've always done or that's just the way that we've done it. I always like to be looking at different ways of how we can do things. That's not only at church, but that's in my personal life, that's in my other work life during the week as well. And so I feel in myself that if we could meet back together tomorrow, then I just feel that even for me, I would probably just slip back into, let's just go back to the way that we've always done things, or the way that the old normal used to be. But what if God doesn't want us to go back to how things were normally, or back to doing a church service just the same old normal way? And I guess that's a question, that's a topic, and even a message for a different time. But if we get back to that question of what does church look like? Or what does church look like? And if we couldn't meet together for another year, just say this scenario that we as a Next Level Church, we couldn't meet physically together for another year for an actual church service, would that mean that Next Level Church has stopped? And of course the answer is no, definitely not. Because you are the church. And we should never stop doing what God has called us to do. We should never stop fulfilling the mission, the calling that God has placed on each and every one of our lives personally. You see, we are Next Level Church because we are next level people. We believe that there is a next level for every single person in all areas of their lives. In your personal life, in the way that you deal with and the way that you cope with different circumstances. Your personal development, there is a next level. There's another level for you. In your job or even in your career, there's a next level. Maybe you've just been doing that same bottom of the rung job. There's another level for you. Maybe you've been in a certain position for a certain amount of time. Hey, there's a next level for you. Maybe that's stepping up to be a manager or a 2IC. Maybe that's even you stepping out and actually buying that business. There's a next level for you in that area. Even in your marriage, even with your other relationships, there's a next level. I know for me, I'm always trying to work on that. Hey, there's a better way that I can be a better husband. There's a better way I can be a better dad. There's that next level for me in my parenting, with your parenting, with your leadership capacity and responsibilities. There is a next level. With your fitness, there's a next level. There is. And with every area, there's always a next level. And you can say, well, that one doesn't really apply to me. Well, then your first step is, or that going to the next level is just taking that first step in that direction. And I guess the most important and most significant for your life is that there is a next level in your faith and your relationship with Jesus Christ. That is the most important. That is the most significant thing in your life. And what you've got to realize is that there is always a starting point. There is always a starting point. For some of you, the next level with Jesus is just watching this sermon. Maybe just watching a church service for the first time. When churches can reopen again, maybe that first next level for you is actually just attending a church. There's always a next level. If you've been a Christian for a certain amount of years, maybe that next level is just reading your Bible regularly. Maybe just praying every day throughout the day. Maybe it's fasting more regularly. Maybe it's to actually start tithing. There's always a next level. Hey, maybe you've just been coasting along and you've just been attending church for a while. Maybe the next level for you is actually serving and being a part of the church. There's always a next level. Even if you've grown up in church all your life, there is always that next level where you can go to in your relationship with Jesus. And when you are pressing in to go to the next level with Jesus, you'll find that you want to go to the next level in every area of your life. I know that for me personally, that hey, when I press into Jesus and when I'm really seeking Him, I want to go to the next level, I just find that every other area of my life, I actually want to excel and exceed and go to the next level in that as well. And that's what Jesus does. Jesus brings out the best in you. He brings out the best in people. He doesn't pull us down. He doesn't restrict us, but He lifts us up and He pushes us to a next level with Him, to a better life. Not just spiritually, but physically as well. Not just emotionally, but mentally as well. Jesus always pushes us to be a better person. I love the words that Paul wrote in his letter to the Philippians, to the church, to the people there in Philippi. And we're just going to be reading from Philippians 3, verses 12 to 16. And if you've got your Bibles, I'd love for you just to follow along. But this is what it says. These are Paul's words. He says, I'm not saying that I have this all together, that I have it all made. But I am well on my way, reaching out for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this, but I've got my eye on the goal where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running, and I'm not turning back. I just love those words of Paul. You see, Paul went from being someone who was persecuting the Christians to those who were following Jesus, and at that stage his name was Saul. And so Saul, he had this miraculous encounter with Jesus, and basically overnight he went from being someone who was oppressing to persecuting the Jesus followers to someone now so full on for Jesus and doing everything he can to spread the love, to spread the words of Jesus to the people around him and to the greater reaches of the people around him as well. And Paul was so influential. Paul was so significant in the early church, in the start of the church, and I guess you could say the church today is where it is today because of Paul and the work that he did. And Paul suffered a lot. He was beaten, he was shipwrecked, he was flogged, he was naked, he was tortured for his relationship, for what he believed in Jesus. And here he's saying is that, hey, I don't have it all together. I'm not saying that I have it all together, that I have it all made. I think so often that we can sit there and say, you know what, I know everything there is to know about Jesus, or I know everything there is to know about that certain subject. And here's Paul, he's saying, hey, I don't have it made. I don't have all this together. But he says I'm well on the way. Paul's saying that, hey, he's learning, that he's been taught these different things, that he's on his way, that he's reaching out for Christ because Christ so wondrously reached down to him. And he did. It was a miraculous encounter. And it's the same for us in our lives, that, hey, we need to not be in a point where it's like, hey, I know everything there is to know about Jesus. I've read the Bible 10 times and I've prayed to Jesus regularly and I've done this and I've done that. We should never reach a point where it's like, hey, I know everything there is to know. You know, Paul is someone who says, hey, I don't have it all made together. I don't have this thing all worked out, but I'm well on the way. And then he says this, friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this, but I've got my eye on the goal. You see, Paul had his eye on the goal, where God was beckoning him onwards, beckoning him on closer to Christ, beckoning him on to do everything that God had set out and planned for him to do. And you see, that's the important part, that Paul realized that there was more for him. He realized that there was a next level for him to go to. Because then he says this at the end, he says, so let's keep focused on that goal. Those of us who want everything that God has for us. That is so important. Hey, those of us who want everything that God has for us. Now, I want to achieve. I want to receive. I want to pursue. I want to fulfill everything that God has for my life. You see, there is so much more for us. There's so much more for you. God has so much more for you, for every single person. More than we could ever ask, more than we could ever think or dream or imagine or request of God. That's just unbelievable that, hey, God has so much more for us than our wildest dreams. You see, there's another level that God is calling us onto. In our faith, in our relationship with Him, in every area of our life, there is so much more. Nicole shared a great little devotional earlier on in the week, and just on our church Facebook and Instagram page, and she just shared about intentionality, or living with intention. And so what I want to encourage all of us today is to let's all of us use this time wisely while we're still, I guess we still can't do a church service together as we would normally like. Let's really be intentional about and stop and not only think about, but actually do and act out who you are, who we are as a church. We are Next Level Church because we are next level people. We believe that there's more for us. We believe that there's more for us, that we're not just going to stay at this same level of where we've always been. We're never going to plateau in our life, in our faith, in our relationship with Jesus, but we're always going to be pressing on to go to that next level. And as I said, hey, when we keep pressing in to go that next level in our relationship with Jesus, it just seems that every area of our life, we just want to get better. We just want to continue to go that next level in every other area of our lives. We're next level people who believe that there is so much more for us. And when you get a hold of that, hey, there's so much more for me, you soon start to realize that there's so much more for those people around you as well. For your family, for your loved ones, for your neighbours, for your work colleagues, the people you see down the street. And so you just want to do all you can to reach out to them with the love of Christ. You see, Jesus has called us to so much more. He's wondrously reached down and saved us. Let us be people that reach out to those people around us and show Christ's love to them. Hey, we're next level people that believe that there's so much more for every single person. I'm just going to pray. Dear Lord, I just thank you that you do have so much more for us. I thank you that you're continually calling us onto a next level with you in our faith, in our relationship with you, into every area of our life. Father, I just pray for all of us that you'll continually be drawing us to the next level, that we won't just plateau and stagnate in our life, in our faith, in our relationship with you, but in the words of Paul, that we'll be continually pressing on, that we'll be continually pressing forward into what you have for us, into what you are calling us to do. Lord God, let that reality sink in that, hey, we don't just go to church, but we are the church. We need to live this life, this faith, our relationship with you out. Father, I just pray for all of us that you'll just use us to shine your love, to shine your light to those people around us. Father, may we be people that continually draw others to a better version of themselves. May we be people that help others realize that there's so much more for them. Lord, I just pray for your safety and your protection over every single person now. And I just thank you and praise you for that in Jesus' name. Hey, I pray that you have a fantastic week. And as I said, if you don't accomplish everything that you set out to do, just remember that there's always next week. And if you do have a secret recipe to how to make your weeks go a little bit slower and achieve everything that you want to achieve, then just comment below or send me a personal message. But hey, love yous, and look forward to when we can actually all meet together and do, church or have a church service all together. Have a great week. See ya.